Yes, I know that the New Mutants has already been released, but I haven't got round to watching it yet, so you'll still have to make do with my series leading up to it. And today's video is going to be on Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 plot may sound familiar, but essentially Deadpool is trying to protect this young mutant from a mutant called Cable who has traveled back from the future. Sounds a bit like Terminator 2, doesn't it? So moving into the pros, Deadpool 2 actually has a lot of heart. It did have quite a bit in the first movie, but in this one, it kind of brings the character more down to earth. You experience way more than you do Deadpool, and it has some nice emotional moments on the side, more than the first one did. There's a lot of changes behind the scenes with the crew, but the comedy didn't change at all. If anything, it only got better. I mentioned in my Deadpool review that there's a lot of mixed comedy, and where there was in this movie, there was a load more references, which if they're done properly, I always love. And I can confirm that in this movie they're done properly. There's a lot of DC or MCU references in there, which I laughed a lot about. The action is just as great and just as violent as it was in the first one. There was so much imagination in Deadpool with all the action, the use of powers, and how Deadpool actually can't feel pain. And the same applies here, if anything, more mutant powers, which makes for cooler action. In terms of everything, this movie is more ambitious than the first one. It has a bigger budget. Although the first one had some links to the X-Men, just a few here and there, this one branches out from the X-Men whilst acknowledging them and is paid tribute to the comics where they established the X-Force, which could have just been a financial move. Josh Brolin was great in this movie, and we were very lucky to be treated to Josh Brolin performances in 2018 in big Marvel movies. As this review is filmed in 2020 and the future of Deadpool in the MCU is up in the air, I'd really like to see Josh Brolin reappear as Cable, even though he played Thanos. Also introduces Zazie Beetz' character Domino, who said herself that luck is a superpower, and my god does it make for some cool scenes with the domino effect. Where we got taunted in the first one for the after credit scene, this one has some very great mid-credit scenes which tie into a lot of things. You probably thought they were written by Ryan Reynolds, as they were honestly hilarious, and it just tops off a movie which was full of great cameos as well. And as I mentioned, the synopsis sounds very familiar. The plot was very cliche, even though there's more to it than what the synopsis says. Overall, the straightforward plot was very cliche, so you kind of could see where it was going. It wasn't too interesting. The only thing keeping me going was how great these characters were. There were some attempts to provoke emotion in the final act, and I didn't really feel it that much. It was a bit of a lame joke they pulled at sometimes. It didn't provoke too much emotion from me. It was just a bit too far in some sense. You know, they pushed out as many jokes as they could in this to constantly keep you entertained, and sometimes they didn't land or it just felt too much, and I felt that in this sense. So the character, I think her name is Teenage Negasonic Warhead or something like that. She was in the first one, she was a side character. She didn't have much dialogue, but she was still presence, and I like the chemistry between her and Deadpool in that movie. But in this one, they don't really know what to do with her. They kind of just have her on the side, but everything with her doesn't feel right. It feels a bit forced as well, just to have her in it. Maybe if they could have involved her more in it, which it didn't feel forced, then I would have been happy to see that. Overall, just like with Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2 is a huge blast. It has great comedy, great action, just some cliche things, and comedy which doesn't completely land all the time is what brings it a bit lower than the first one. But nonetheless, a great movie, a great superhero movie. I mean, if you can call it that. A very entertaining watch, which I recommend to anyone, especially if you love the first one, you'll love this. I'm going to give Deadpool 2 an 8 out of 10, just like I did with the first one. Thank you so much for watching this video. As I mentioned, the New Mutants is already out, but I just haven't got around to watching it yet. I was going to include Once Upon a Deadpool in this X-Men series, but my schedule became a bit too crammed as there was a lot of releases at the end of this month. If you want to see any of those other X-Men reviews, I'll leave a card right up here to click on. That will have all of the reviews in it. And after this, we have Dark Phoenix, and then we have the New Mutants. So I hope you stick around for that. I hope to see you in that. Once again, thank you for watching.